Chapter 1016, GM Lu Xiaoshu. The marketing manager took over the driving. Chen Zuan thought about it and said, "Forget it. We won't take much more time if we run back. If you crash the car on the way, we still have to repay the showroom." The marketing manager was unhappy. "You have to complete a mission when you go back, right? What if you don't have enough energy? How will you complete your mission? Relax, if the car crashes, I will pay for it." Before he could finish speaking, Chen Zuan and Cheng Qiuqiao opened the car door and jumped on the roof. They ran towards Beimang Mountain, where the Luotian Cultivation College was. On the way, Chen Zuan and Cheng Qiuqiao saw the members of the Heavenly Network evacuating the civilians to the north. Longmen Mountain was in the south. Thus, the Heavenly Network moved the civilians to the north. The Heavenly Network did not have enough practitioners. Thus, they roped in the secret practitioners to help. A majority of the civilians knew what was happening. They knew that times were different. Something that could make the Heavenly Network so nervous was definitely a catastrophe. Thus, they unexpectedly cooperated with them. Some secret practitioners greeted Chen Zuan and Cheng Qiuqiao when they saw them. These secret practitioners, who were afraid of death in the past, did not run away this time. The Heavenly Network had called them over, and they had responded quickly. It was fortunate that Luo City had the biggest black market in the entire country. Luckily, a few thousand secret practitioners were gathered there. But time was tight. It would take a few days for the evacuation to be complete. Chen Zuan did not know whether they would be able to delay enough time for the civilians to evacuate. They should have directly gone to the Longmen Mountains, but the message that Zhong Yutong had sent them stated that they were to pick up their bronze armor. This order made Chen Zuan and Cheng Qiuqiao realize the severity of this situation. If not, why would they need to wear their bronze armor? It was definitely because the situation this time was very dangerous. When Chen Zuan and Cheng Qiuqiao rushed back, over 1,000 members of the Flood of Bronze had gathered. Chen Zuan looked at Zhong Yutong's gloomy expression. He asked, "What happened?" "The pathway has opened up, but our fortress is still under construction and is not done," said Zhong Yutong in a serious tone. 100 soldiers in black armor suddenly rushed out from the pathway. They may not be very strong, but the people on the ground are not combat ready. The soldiers killed everyone they saw. "We have lost over 100 comrades. But your granduncle is here. He is killing as many of them as he can." But, the pathway did not close like last time. Chen Zuan grew serious. Back then, at the tiger's back, he was still chatting with others from the Heavenly Network. Everyone was very welcoming. They even introduced him to the structure of the fortress. But now, were they all dead? He did not know how many people he knew from the people who had died. But regardless of whether he knew them or not, they were all comrades. "We captured a person called Li Ku. He is a chief driver there, and is in charge of transporting rations," said Zhong Yutong suddenly. "He loves to eat. We called in a chef to cook him a meal every day, and he tells us a secret every day. According to what we know, there are 200,000 soldiers gathered near the pathway. According to Heavenly King Ye's analysis, they might be targeting the Earth. The West Lord of Heaven, Duanmu Huangqi, has no reason to station his troops here. He must have discovered a secret behind the pathway. So, is he planning to invade the Earth?" Chen Zuan was dumbfounded. "It's not only here," Zhong Yutong said with a serious tone, "there have also been waves of energy in Northern Europe and America. Thus, we suspect that the two worlds are completely connected. Why does this feel like a game server?" Chen Zuan was dumbfounded. "I really feel like I'm playing a game now." Cheng Qiuqiao was dumbfounded. "Look at it this way. There are two different servers. Lu Shu is the GM, or Game Master, of the Earth. As long as you give him money, he will help you become strong." Chen Zuan analyzed this carefully. Zhang Yutong was silent. Chang Qiuqiao was speechless too. The entire flood of bronze did not speak. To be honest, I feel that Chen's wand makes sense. Look at the flood of bronze, said someone slowly. Everyone relied on the bronze armor, but Lu Shu was the one who had taken the armor from the people of the sea. Chen's wand had relied on the magical liquid from Lu Shu to advance to Class B, Class A was within his reach. Furthermore, Lu Shu angered Nieting to the point that he reached Shinsong Jing. Later on, Lu Shu had also helped him to recover his foundation. Everyone suddenly felt that Lu Shu could not be separated from the development of the heavenly network. This is not the time to talk about this. Zhang Yutong interrupted their train of thought. Everyone, wear your bronze armor and head to the Longmen Mountain. No matter when they come, you must lead the heavenly network and station them on Longmen Mountain to buy time for the civilians. Yes. Chen Zuan and the rest were off to save lives. Before they could do much, Zhang Yutong suddenly called them back. Chen Zuan and the rest of the flood of bronze suddenly turned back and saw Zhang Yutong bowing at them. He said, I have obtained information from Li Ku that they have more rank 1 experts than us. I know that there is a possibility that some of you may be sacrificed. But please do not retreat. The heavenly network does not have an escape route. Behind us are the civilians. Zhang Yutong, you treat us like outsiders. Chen Zuan put on his bronze armor and spoke in a low, muffled voice. You act as if you're the only one who is clear about the righteousness of this cause. We are not scared. Zhang Yutong stood up straight. I have notified Heavenly King Nia. If the situation is not as bad as I have imagined, all the members of the Heavenly Network in the country will gather here. I hope that everyone will be able to survive. Relax. I'm planning to survive and find Brother Shu. I want him to help me cheat in my game. Chen Zuan waved and led the rest to Longmen Mountain. The civilians fled to the north. Among the crowd, the flood of bronze headed towards the south. Many civilians looked at the flood of bronze while they ran to the north. They were the only ones traveling in the opposite direction. It was now sunset. The setting sun was as red as blood. Chapter 10:17, The First Heavenly King, Nia Ting. Leading the flood of bronze, the practitioners pointed the way for them automatically. Initially, people did not understand it when they received the instructions from the Heavenly Network. It was the first time the Heavenly Network conducted such a large-scale evacuation. Although the battle on the tiger's back was intense, there was no need for this much trouble as there were not many people left in the Chengbai Mountains. Yet now, what on earth happened on the Longmen Mountain that made the Heavenly Network spend so much effort? If the enemies had arrived, they ought to come from the borders. Why was Luo City encountering the enemies? At this moment, only very few people knew that a space passageway on the Longmen Mountain had suddenly opened. Meanwhile, there was an extremely developed civilization on the other side of the space passageway. The power of cultivation was way greater than that of the Earth. It was able to conquer Earth using the powers of the West region only. There was only one Master Realm expert, Nia Ting, in the Heavenly Network. Meanwhile, including Duanmu Huangqi, there were 4 individuals masters from the West region. Of course, Duanmu Huangqi was in the palace. Nobody knew how many masters from the West region would head to the Earth. If Lu Shu knew about this, his first reaction would probably be, Duanmu Huangqi came to the palace in order to hold everyone's attention in the palace so that he could proceed with his plan. Chen Zuan and the rest were in the midst of conducting their plan. Suddenly, a little girl who was hugging onto a soft toy looked at the flood of bronze on the rooftop. Her mother held her hands and she looked up suddenly. Mom, who are they? The little girl's mother looked above her and calmed down. They are superhumans. What are superhumans? Very, very powerful superheroes, said her mother while smiling, the superheroes who protected us. The girl suddenly shouted towards the flood of bronze, thank you. Chen Zuan, who was on the rooftop, suddenly pulled up his mask and jumped around crazily while smiling. F***ck, even if I die, it's worth it. Chang Qiuqiao said beside him, touch wood. Chen Zuan said. Where did you learn this from, touch wood? The entire flood of bronze laughed. The bronze armor was different from that of the past. Initially, everyone thought that the Heavenly Network wanted to improve the bronze armor using some tactics. However, they realized that the so-called improvement was to add a communication device and night vision device to the top of the armor. This was rather down to earth. This was a combination of science and martial arts. At least, the entire flood of bronze could communicate with each other at the same time, including chatting with the armor on. The flood of bronze continued to head to the south. Everyone knew that they would run into danger. Or else, why would Zhong Yutong bow to them? But so what if there was danger? Everyone in the flood of bronze was waiting for this day. They were hoping for an intense battle to prove that their beliefs were not without reason. Zhao Yongchen, who was beside them, suddenly recalled the conversation he had with Lu Shu on that rainy night that felt like a long time ago. For some reason, he hoped that Lu Shu could lead the rest to face the crisis. It was as though the outcome would be tremendously different if he was around. When the flood of bronze reached the Longmen Mountain, everyone stood solemnly beside a section of the fort. Chen Bailey was sleeping at the dilapidated wall. Although he killed several hundreds of Black Feather Army earlier on, there was a rank 1 expert who managed to attack him. However, although he was injured, he still managed to kill everyone else. Chen Zuan looked at the several hundred dead bodies in front of Chen Bailey and the partners from the Heavenly Network. This scene was terrible, and it had been a long time since such things happened after the battle on the Tiger's Back. Before the fort was built, it was already broken through. Chen Zuan suddenly said, let's carry our brother to the back of the wall to prevent them from getting hurt during the battle later. Chen Zuan knew that dead people would not get injured. Chen Bailey opened his eyes and glanced at Chen Zuan. Watch out. Chen Zuan was shocked. This was the first time his granduncle showed concern for him. Chang Qiuqiao, Chen Zuan and Zhao Yongchen led the teams to carry their teammates' bodies respectively. Zhong Yutong had taken over as the temporary commander and was diverting the entire flood of bronze to Luo City. There was no proper handover and there was no time for it. What was happening on Longmen Mountain was the most important. It was 1 kilometer from the space passageway. Chen Zuan and the rest stood on the dilapidated walls and watched the sunset. For some reason, everyone felt that time passed extremely slowly and was extremely difficult to last through. Nobody knew what would appear in the space passageway, and nobody knew if they could see the next morning's sunrise. The few rays of the sun setting shone on everyone's faces. However, everyone had put on their masks and the flood of bronze was ready to attack at any moment. Everyone knew that the first batch of the other party was just a scouting group. However, even the scout group was able to injure Chen Bailey. At this moment, a gigantic wave of energy spread. Chen Zuan and the rest saw a senior wearing a black robe appear out of nowhere and leaped into the sky while laughing loudly. I, Chen Yushuan, the master of the West Lord of Heaven, has arrived. Why aren't all of you kneeling and asking for my forgiveness? Chen Zuan and the rest became extremely cautious. This person seemed to be extremely powerful. They saw the senior throw a black baton up into the sky. It was carved with complicated patterns. After that, the patterns on the baton began to move. They spread out like a net from the sky, as though it was about to engulf the entire area from above. The senior laughed. None of the masters are willing to welcome me? At this moment, a black saber appeared above Chen Yushuan's head without any warning. The entire space began to distort. With the strike of the saber, the black knife radiance was extremely powerful and cut the black net into 2. A cold voice was heard above Chen Yushuan's head, scram. Instantly, the radiance of the saber appeared again and the senior named Chen Yushuan was shocked beyond words. He did not expect such a powerful master to be present. He did not dare to defend against the strike. However, the most annoying thing was that he had to obey the other party's instructions and descend in order to avoid the saber. He was acting as though he was very obedient. Everyone, including Chen Zuan, looked up into the sky at Nie Ting. The first heavenly king of the heavenly network had never disappointed them. Chapter 1018 Nie Ting, the Master of Assassination. In fact, when Chen Zuan heard Zheng Yutong say that he had already informed Heavenly King Nie, he felt that something was amiss. To Nie Ting, the capital was only a stone throws away. Although it was an exaggeration, it should take him less than an hour to rush over. Therefore, by right, Nie Ting should arrive earlier than Chen Zuan and the rest. However, nobody saw Nie Ting. Chen Zuan kept quiet. Nie Ting's patience was too terrifying. He felt that Nie Ting was already present when Chen Bailey was injured. Nevertheless, Nie Ting and Zheng Yutong were very aware of the powers of their opponents. They remained hidden as they knew that one of their opponents was of the Shen Songjing rank. Before Chen Zuan saw Nie Ting, he was unafraid at all because he knew that Nie Ting would definitely be present. When the master called Chen Yuxuan arrived on Earth and wanted to use his magical equipment to control space, Chen Zuan was definitely unafraid and, in fact, wanted to laugh. The expert you wanted to see has already arrived, however, he has the gift of an assassin. Are you afraid? However, Chen Zuan initially thought that Nie Ting would attack when his opponent was getting carried away by his pride. However, Nie Ting did not do that. Nie Ting remained calm. He would never underestimate his opponent's skills or intelligence. The arrogance that the other party portrayed was just a surface act. He had remained hidden in order to see how Chen Yuxuan had been carefully looking around. He would not get carried away by his pride. Duanmu Huangqi sent over the general whom he viewed as the most important. Therefore, Nie Ting was laughing coldly and silently. Meanwhile, he attacked during his opponent's peak moment. He severed all his opponent's sword radiance. The aura of Chen Yuxuan was like a hot air balloon which continuously expanded. However, when he reached Nie Ting, the balloon was broken by Nie Ting's saber. The aura was the most important during an exchange between powerful individuals. The two parties were fighting for the correct moment, their powers, and their mental strength. Initially, Nie Ting was training himself on the tiger's back. When he attacked, he immediately attacked with a classes strike. How terrifying was that? Chen Yuxuan fell rapidly. The master was not as weak as the bishop who needed to cheat to rise in power. In fact, every single master in this world had an extraordinary mind and wisdom. Therefore, he had already sensed a terrifying imminent danger at that moment. The strangeness in the black saber seemed to surpass his imagination. It was so strange as Chen Yuxuan did not dare to block the attack. Chen Yuxuan was retreating, but Nie Ting continued to strike as though Chen Yuxuan could not dodge the saber. It was the first time he had ever seen such a powerful radiance in his life. To be honest, when Duanmu Huangqi told him that there were experts in the land of forefathers, Duanmu Huangqi said that they were not very powerful as incidents had happened in this place in the past. Chen Yuxuan did not know where Duanmu Huangqi obtained the information from. However, now that he recalled Duanmu Huangqi's tone, he felt speechless. So this was the so-called not very powerful? Duanmu Huangqi, shouldn't you come over and try if you can kill the opponent? To Chen Yuxuan, Duanmu Huangqi was at a higher position than the young people in front of him. However, Chen Yuxuan did not know how many years Duanmu Huangqi and Nie Ting had trained for. To be accurate, it was less than a year since Nie Ting reached the Master Realm. There was only one Nie Ting amongst the 6 billion people on Earth. If Duanmu Huangqi was present, he would probably realize that Nie Ting was able to surpass the Master Realm if he was given enough time, and may end up as the 4th person to do that. Although it was just a possibility, it was sufficient to make one look up to him. When Chen Yuxuan was half a meter away from the ground, he suddenly changed his direction of falling and flew towards the south. However, if he only did that, he would still get stabbed by the saber. Just at that moment, Chen Yuxuan's black robe suddenly flew in the air and left his body as it flew straight towards the saber. The black robe expanded in the air, as though it was about to wrap around Nie Ting. However, Nie Ting's saber was too sharp. Instantly, the saber landed behind Chen Yuxuan and made a huge crack on the ground. The black robe was sliced in half like a torn cloth and gradually fell to the ground. The black robe managed to help Chen Yuxuan by some time, and Nie Ting managed to destroy Chen Yuxuan's 2 weapons within 2 strikes. The fight between 2 masters was no longer as straightforward as that in the past. Chen Yuxuan had followed Duanmu Huangqi for countless years and fought against countless people. He was definitely powerful as he managed to survive until now. Moreover, Chen Yuxuan followed the Lord of Heaven for many years in the Luniverse. Duanmu Huangqi would give them good weapons whenever possible. Or else, why would the followers follow Duanmu Huangqi? However, at this moment, Chen Yuxuan suddenly felt that the young person in front of him was more powerful than Duanmu Huangqi. He still had potential. He did not know that Nie Ting was able to destroy the world when he attacked. Although the world tree had been replanted on Earth, Nie Ting was still rather worried that the world's foundation would shake when the rest attacked. Therefore, because of his worry, he did not go full out. At this moment, Chen Zuan and Cheng Qiuqiao were shocked. 2 people flew out from the space pathway. Chen Zuan was stunned. Don't tell me this guy is of the same standard as Principal Nie? If that's the case, we don't need to fight any further. However, the teammate who was able to predict one's status said, 2 class as. They are not as terrifying as you imagined. Hearing that, Chen Zuan heaved a sigh of relief. 2 class as. Hold on, even if they are only class as, they were powerful enough. At the next moment, Chen Zuan suddenly roared, formation. Then the soldiers dressed in black armor swarmed from the space pathway like locusts. The black wave of soldiers was like the tides that swallowed the entire sky. There were a few times more soldiers in the Black Feather Army than that of the Flood of Bronze. Meanwhile, the advantage of the Flood of Bronze was their armor and determination. There's no way back. Chen Zuan turned and looked at the Flood of Bronze who were in formation. They were in a strategically indefensible location. The residents of Luo City were behind them. Zhao Yongchen suddenly laughed. I once asked someone 2 questions in a stormy night. Back then, he was only an ordinary teenager. Now, he has become the 9th heavenly king. Chen Zuan's eyes lit up. Everyone knew who Zhao Yongchen was referring to. Cheng Qiuqiao looked at the approaching wave of soldiers and asked curiously, what are you asking? I am asking him, why did the great lord go? Zhao Yongchen smiled. What did he say? He said he wanted to destroy the heavenly palace. What else did you ask? I asked him, what if he never comes back? What did he say? Then so be it. Chen Zuan turned around and the wave of soldiers was almost before them. I am going to live to wait for his return. Chapter 10:19, We Cannot Retreat. They have 2 class A's. I cannot determine the strength of the others. Chen Bailey, who had been resting, stood up. Don't sacrifice yourselves for nothing. Save as much as your strength as possible. Leave the 2 class A's to me. Chen Bailey suddenly paused. He then continued. Zuan, take care of the Chen family. Chen Zuan suddenly realized that when Chen Bailey told him to take care of the Chen family, he was already planning to do everything he could to kill the 2 class A's. Everyone knew that the Flood of Bronze would not have any natural enemies once the 2 class A's were killed. If the Flood of Bronze did not have any class A's, their enemy would always have the upper hand. The master serving Duanmu Huangqi, Chen Yuxuan, had completely changed his strategy. He started to avoid Nie Ting's attacks and ran far away. Chen Yuxuan laughed coldly. I see that you are quite worried about the civilians. You are too soft-hearted. Let me see if you are able to protect them. With that, Chen Yuxuan flew to the south. It would be easier for him to find civilians if he flew to the north, as Luo City was in the north, but he did not dare to pass by Niating. Chen Yuxuan's heart was bleeding. The strength of the masters here had exceeded his expectations. He used various magical weapons to block their attacks. If not, he would die. Chen Yuxuan had already used up 5 to 6 magical weapons in this fight alone. He had been protecting Duanmu Huangji for almost 1,000 years, but had never used so many weapons before. But Chen Yuxuan did not dare to return to the Luniverse. He knew that Duanmu Huangji's recent state of mind was very complex. No one trusted him. If he returned like this, he might not be able to obtain resources in the future, but this was a minor matter. Duanmu Huangji might start to doubt him and find an opportunity to eliminate him in the future. Niating coldly looked at Chen Yuxuan. He had to get rid of Chen Yuxuan in the mountains in the north. If not, many civilians would die. From the very beginning, Niating did not think that he would lose. He was thinking about how long he had to take in order to defeat him. Niating chased Chen Yuxuan into the mountains. He knew that Chen Yuxuan was afraid that he would stay here and disrupt their plans for invasion. But Niating had to chase him. This was a limitation of the heavenly network, but it was also their source of pride. Chen Zuan sighed. Back then, I was on my way to the cultivation college. At the entrance of the cultivation college, an auntie stopped me and asked whether I had a girlfriend. I looked at the girl beside her. I said to her, "Auntie, I don't even have friends." The auntie told me, "If you are going to talk like that, I will have to give up." Chang Qiuqiao taunted him. "What are you talking about? What nonsense! Do you think that you are Brother Shu?" Chen Zuan suddenly said, but this auntie did not give up. After returning from the battle at Tiger's Back, I saw her among the crowd of civilians. She might have not remembered me. She asked again whether I had a girlfriend. I replied no. Then, she looked at her daughter and said, "Forget it. My daughter is no match for you." Her daughter's face was very dark. People are conflicting. We have our strengths and weaknesses. There are times when you think that she is detestable, but there are also times when you think that she is very cute. Of course, there have always been good and bad people on Earth. What we need to do is protect those we think are cute, said Chen Zuan calmly. Chen Zuan hurriedly added, "Of course, I'm not including those who have committed crimes." Zhao Yongchen bit his lip. "Fatty, I didn't expect you to think about this. Although I don't agree with some parts, our thoughts are generally similar. Everyone had their own yardsticks. Everyone would have different opinions about the auntie. But what Chen Zuan and the rest had to think about was not whether the auntie was right or wrong. They had to stop the soldiers in black armor at this dilapidated place. The next moment, the black wave had approached the flood of bronze. Chen Zuan roared and charged forth as the vanguard. His robust physique charged into the black army like a mallet, beating the black wave into a pulp. The flood of bronze, which was made up of over 1,000 people, was like a small boat in front of the black wave. There was a limit to the breadth of the pathway. Thus, only a limited number of Black Feather Army soldiers could enter Earth. But this did not stop them from coming in a continuous stream. People from the flood of bronze started to collapse. Throughout this process, the black wave and the flood of bronze were like water and fire. They did not go well together. The moment they clashed, they started to eliminate each other. Although the flood of bronze had few people, the magical armor was very beneficial in direct collisions. This caused the deaths from the Black Feather Army to be 10 times that of the flood of bronze. At first, the Black Feather Army had thought that the armies here would collapse at the first blow, as the Black Feather Army was a strict organization with thorough training. Like the group of scouts that Lu Shu had encountered, their cooperation was very strong. They had many combat accomplishments as well. But the Black Feather Army now realized that the cooperation between the Flood of Bronze exceeded theirs. This was the Heavenly Network. This was the Flood of Bronze, who was able to coordinate even in times of chaos. But there were far too many people from the Black Feather Army. Duanmu Huangji had stationed 200,000 soldiers here. There were even more armies coming from the West region. How would the Flood of Bronze, which only had over 1,000 people, stop them? They were like a small boat being thrown around by the black waves. They might overturn and sink to the seabed at any time. At that moment, people suddenly came from behind the Flood of Bronze. Zhao Yongchen looked behind. To his shock, he realized that they were the students from the Luotian Cultivation College. They had immature expressions and ran forward with the standard swords they had just obtained from the Luotian Cultivation College. They rushed towards the black wave without fear and joined the Flood of Bronze. The secret practitioners followed closely behind them. Chen Zuan shouted, "Zhong Yutong, are you crazy? The students in the Cultivation College are the seeds of the Heavenly Network. What if they get injured?" No one spoke. They silently thought. Chen Zuan, you were a student of the Luotian Cultivation College too, right? You had taken up the responsibility. Back then, when you used the excuse of finding Yu Mingyu to request for leave, you did not think that you were a student either. In that battle, Chen Zuan and Cheng Qiuqiu had displayed extraordinary strength and courage. Everyone knew if there was another way, Zhong Yutong would not send these students to the battlefield. They absolutely could not retreat. Chapter 1020, Control the Air. Continue to fight. The students of the Cultivation College were not as disorganized as they had expected. Although their ability to fight together and their combat awareness were a far cry from that of the Flood of Bronze, they had the strength to survive. It was a slight relief. To the Flood of Bronze, this was a chance to breathe. But at that moment, they looked at the pathway in despair as two people flew out. Someone said in a low tone, "They are Class A's." Do they have that many Class A's? Chen Zuan was upset. Class A. How amazing. If they could not fly, I would definitely kill them. Wait. Hasn't Chao Qingxi advanced to Class A? Furthermore, she has been waiting by the pathway. Where is she? Is she waiting in ambush? Many people knew Chao Qingxi's habits. She had inherited her assassination abilities from Nie Ting that shared the limelight with her strength. Some people could not help but sigh with emotion. It was as if Nie Ting and Chao Qingxi had the highest aptitudes in the entire Heavenly Network, but they had both become assassins. They had the ability to face enemies head-on, as no one would be able to defeat them, but they insisted on assassination. This did not make any sense. They had waited for a long time, but Chao Qingxi had not appeared to help them. Cheng Qiuqiu panted. She might have concealed herself and gone to the other side of the pathway. That's not impossible. That young lady is very brave. Wait. Look. Someone is flying over from behind. Can you see who they are? Someone shouted in surprise. Even the soldiers of the Black Feather Army were dumbfounded. When they received orders to come here, the leader of the Black Feather Army had informed them of the situation. After all, they had to be aware. They could not let their guard down, but they could not be overly cautious either. But in reality, their combat strength was much more powerful than they had expected. If the Flood of Bronze had the same number of people as the Black Feather Army, the Black Feather Army would definitely be defeated. But there were no ifs. 2 rank 1s from the Heavenly Network flew over. Although they were shocked that there were also rank 1 experts here, they had 4 rank 1s, while the Heavenly Network only had 2.5. They still had the upper hand. The injured Chen Bailey was considered as half a rank 1 expert. It's Li Xiao and Nailin K. Someone in the Flood of Bronze exclaimed with confidence. The sun slowly set behind the mountains. Li Xiao had a serious expression on his face. He and Nalan K had isolated themselves at the same time, and they had both just advanced to Class A. Advancing to Class A was worth being excited about, but Li Xiao's driving force to break through was the hope that he would be able to take back the position of leader in his family. Nalan K did so to protect her position as leader of her family. The two of them had secretly gone to the mountains to isolate themselves. After Li Xiao advanced, he realized that Nalan K had advanced as well. He was not happy at all. When they heard that people were about to invade the earth, he was even more depressed. They flew straight into the battlefield. Chen Bailey was being surrounded and attacked by 4 rank 1s. His white hair was standing up. His vital energy had reached its maximum level. When he moved, the air around him would be distorted. But after the air was distorted, it quickly went back to its original state. The world tree on the Changbai Mountains had planted its roots into the core of the earth. It was constantly repairing the world. It was indestructible. Let me help you. Li Xiao charged forth like a grenade, causing the 4 soldiers from the Black Feather Army to disperse. None of them dared to attack him. They were bewildered. The practitioners in the land of forefathers attacked in a tyrannical and brutal manner. Before they could think of a strategy, Nalan K had rushed over as well. She collided with one of the rank 1s and caused him to cough up blood. The soldiers from the Black Feather Army were afraid. Where did this boorish couple come from? They looked at each other, as if they had other plans. Suddenly, 3 of the rank 1s went into formation and charged towards Chen Bailey, Li Xiao, and Li Xiao. They were temporarily shocked and did not know what to do. It was as if no matter who they attacked, they would have to face all 3 of them. The last rank 1 suddenly flew to the north, where Luo City was. There were still millions of civilians in Luo City who had not escaped. He wanted to kill the civilians. The flood of bronze and Li Xiao would panic. When Li Xiao and Nalan K saw this, they hurriedly went to stop them, but the formation came and blocked them. They were unable to stop the rank 1 from heading towards the city. Someone from the flood of bronze panicked. What do we do? If a Class A kills civilians, they will be able to kill thousands of them in one blow. We can't ignore this. Everyone wanted to go there, but they could not. Suddenly, Chang Qiuqiu retreated and ran away from the flood of bronze. Chen Xuan roared, "Where are you going? Don't care about me. Continue fighting. I have a way to stop him." Chang Qiuqiu roared. His voice was hoarse. Under the protection of the flood of bronze, Chang Qiuqiu retreated in the direction of the city. His objective was that rank 1 soldier. Chen Xuan was silent. There was a ferocious expression beneath the helmet. His teeth almost chipped off. The rank 1 soldier was too fast. Chang Qiuqiu could not catch up to him on the ground. Suddenly, there was singing from the communication channel. "Little conch, when I blow the bloody conch, the freaking seagulls fly away." The singing was shoddy, but they continued to sing. Chen Xuan suddenly turned around and saw the rank 1 swaying in the air. He remembered that when Chang Qiuqiu obtained the ability to curse, he had almost collapsed. But now, Chang Qiuqiu was using this ability to slow down the expert flying in the air. The rank 1 soldier started to fall. He was like the sparrow back then. He controlled the sky. The flood of bronze cheered through the communication. So the fabled curse ability is this impressive. What an amazing ability.
Ha! Ha! Ha!
Chang Qiuqiu is amazing. Chang Qiuqiu was very happy. He ran towards where the rank 1 expert was falling. He did not expect his abilities to become this strong. Crash. The rank 1 soldier fell into the dirt, producing a massive crater. But he suddenly realized that the rank 1 soldier in the crater was slowly standing up. There was a cold laughter among the dust. Interesting. Chenzhuan and the rest suddenly felt that something was strange. They could no longer hear Chang Qiuqiao's voice. Chang Qiuqiao. Respond if you hear this. Chang Qiuqiao. Respond if you hear this. Hurry up and come back. Did you hear me? Hurry up and come back. The blood-red sun had finally set. It was as if it had let out a loud crash as it sunk below the horizon. The sky turned dark. The earth plunged into darkness and grief. Chang Qiuqiao saw the rank 1 soldier slowly walk out of the crater. He stood steadfast and pulled down his helmet. I can't go back. Continue to fight. I repeat, continue to fight.
What does it mean to be happy? 'Cause it looks like we all don't know. Glass half full or empty. Man, we just putting on the show. Try to look to the heavens to tell us things that we've been